What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of the Manga Noob podcast. Listen, y'all better be very lucky that I love you and that this is something that I want to work on because this is the third time I have had to record this video. Because the first time I went back and I listened to the audio and it was impossible. Like, there was absolutely no way that I could have possibly put that out. I couldn't even go back and listen to it. It was that bad. I could not even listen to it myself. So I was like, at first I was kind of like, maybe we just gonna have to thug it out this one episode. But it was so bad that I could not do anything with it. And then the second time, I think I got nervous, so I kept stopping and starting, and I kept saying, well, what if the audio is bad? What if it doesn't sound good? And so I just deleted everything that I did. So we are on take 3, okay? We are on take 3. So I am hoping and I am praying that this goes well. I am hoping that it sounds okay. I am hoping that it sounds like we need it to sound, okay? So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. So y'all know what? I've been thinking about the format of the podcast a little bit because I love to talk. And I just love a good discussion session where we just kind of talk about whatever. But I don't know if anybody wants to actually hear that. That may be something that I think we can save for another medium. I don't know. I don't know if y'all want to have just a catch up session or whatever else. Like, do you just want to get straight into it? Because I feel like sometimes when I get straight into it, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But today we are here to talk about chapter 2 of A Sign of Affection, and we are going to start our discussion of Naruto. So we are going to start talking about the Land of Waves arc, and we're going to get into part 1 of it. So I decided that for the Naruto stories, what I want to do is go arc by arc, because if we got to try to go chapter by chapter, it's going to be impossible. So I'm thinking that we're going to go arc by arc and then just break it down by volume, so that way we have a lot to talk about, but then we also don't have to go into this great long depth and detail. I think that that's a really good format to follow. We're gonna get through at least the Land of Waves arc, see how we feel about it, and then from there we can do the tweaking and the adjusting that we need. But before we get started, I just want to remind everyone to go ahead, follow the podcast on whatever podcasting app you're listening to it on. Give me a quick review, give me something to get the podcast in the algorithm. And if you're listening on YouTube, then please go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend, someone that you think may like it. And if you're watching the video version on Patreon, then let me know what you think about the background. How does it look? Because I'm trying to get the lighting right and all of that. But that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and get into the actual story. So this week we're going to start off talking about our sweet precious angel baby Yuki in A Sign of Affection. So just in case you weren't here last week or you're just now joining us for the first time, A Sign of Affection is a story about a young woman named Yuki who is deaf, and she's experiencing the world for the first time in so many different ways. She's meeting different people, she's going to college, she has this whole world of experiences that is opening up to her that she never knew was there. And in the midst of these new experiences, she meets Itsuomi. I always say Itsuomi, but I think it's Itsuomi. Either way, she meets Itsuomi, and after their chance encounter, she cannot get this man off of her mind. And in chapter 2, because this is episode 6, but this is, chapter 2. In this chapter, we are going to see how our baby starts to develop these feelings and figure out what it means to be infatuated with somebody. So let's go ahead and get into the story. So in chapter 1, Yuki meets Itsuomi, and we are introduced to him, we're introduced to Yuki, and we are introduced to the concept of them starting to connect. At the end of the last chapter, Itsuomi asks Yuki to let him into her world, and our baby girl's heart skipped a beat. So at the beginning of chapter 2, she lets us know that all the feelings that she has been feeling have started to accumulate in her heart, which I think is just adorable. My baby she is giving us the sweetest words that she can think of. And she's saying, just like the snow that falls, it's starting to pile up in my heart. Our baby is down bad, but we're going to get a little bit deeper into that as we go on. So after her class is canceled, her friend Reen invites her out to, just hang out for a little bit. And she's like, you know what's so special about this place? This is where the international club gets together and meets. And then what's so significant about the international club? Itsuomi is part of it. So they see him from afar. And he's over there talking to a bunch of people, right? A bunch of women specifically. And Yuki is looking like, mm. And then Rain is like, I promise you, there were men over here earlier. It's not just women, I promise. And the two of them are also talking about how Yuki asked Itsuomi for his number. And Rin says, were you nervous when you did it? And our girl just goes to shaking. So we already know that when she starts doing all of that and the freaking out, that means she was nervous. And it's pretty much like, slow your roll there. Stop asking all these questions because you know my nerves are bad. So after Yuki sees all these girls that he's talking to, she kind of starts to wonder if he's just interested in her, kind of like a foreign exchange student. Like it's someone new and special that speaks another language that he doesn't. And she's really wondering if his affection towards her is genuine or whether it's just curiosity. Now this is where Reen gets messy. Reen is my kind of carrying on because she's a little bit messy, just a tap, and I low key stand because as soon as they see that Itsuomi is starting to walk off, she gets up and she's like, "Itsuomi, we're over here," and I was like, "Girl, calm down." So there is also a moment where Yuki is looking at one of the girls and she wonders if the girl is half. And I was like, what does that mean? So at the end of the book, they give like some little notes, translation notes and things like that. And it turns out that it's like a controversial, I think, Japanese phrase where it's referring to someone who has one Japanese parent and one non-Japanese parent. So that was the first time I had ever heard of that. And I was like, okay, wowzers. I didn't know if that was like whatever, but just in case someone reads it, I wanted to bring that up because that is one of the things about like reading manga, reading something from a different culture is sometimes there are things that we don't necessarily get. And I'm so glad that they included those translation notes so that we could go back, we could kind of see, we can understand why what's being said is being said. But back to the story. Itsuomi walks over there to come speak to them. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all. That man was looking delicious. The man was looking good. Okay. The face card was absolutely eating. The scarf. Like he was looking so good. When he came over there, Yuki was so caught up that she couldn't even look this man in the face. And I said, you know what? I understand. I completely understand. Because that man looked so good that I was just anyway, okay. Bird Galen is coming out, and this is a fictional character. This is a story. Anyway, she can't look the man in the face, and he asks her, like, what are you, like, I thought you were gonna be doing something else. And she has to type out that she couldn't do it. They're here on campus. And when she tells him, he's just like, that's cute. And I feel like Isawami always has this response that kind of throws Yuki off because she doesn't know whether she's misinterpreting him or whether what he's saying just doesn't make any sense as a response. And sometimes I feel like it's kind of a mix. Like sometimes I feel like maybe she's not fully getting the context of what he's saying. But then on the other hand, I feel like there are a lot of times where he's just kind of responding just to respond. Or he's low key trying to be like flirty, but it's not coming across as such. And I think that that may add a little bit more to what I kind of want to talk about later on, as far as thinking, going back to our conversation, talking about a little bit about how he sometimes feels like he is talking to a child almost, or someone that he finds interest in, like he's at a museum and he's looking at like a sculpture. Like when he says things that don't really make sense as a response or they seem out of place, it does kind of make it feel even more and more like he's looking at her like a novelty. Baby, let me tell you something. Those panels, when that man is talking to her, and then when she's typing out the message, he just kind of like gets in real close to her. And Yuki gets kind of freaked out when he does that because she's like, this man is really close to me. And I can kind of understand where she's coming from with that because as much as I love Itsuomi, right? And that's my man, especially in my head. I feel like there are definitely times where he doesn't really understand boundaries. And again, I think part of it is going back to that's his way of flirting with her, but it comes off weird because people might not necessarily want you in their space like that. But Itsuomi tells them that he has to go so that he can catch his flight. And Yuki is like, wait a minute, a flight? What you mean? Where you going? And he tells her that he's going to Laos. And I feel like that's when we start to really understand that this man just goes any and everywhere. Like he will just pick up and go somewhere. Now, whether this is part of like a school thing, whether this is something that he's doing by himself, we don't fully know. We just know that this man is going to other countries. He's going to other wherever he wants to go in the world. And that actually plays a really big part in his character. But as we kind of go through the episodes and the chapters, then we'll go a little deeper into what that means for the person that Itsuomi is and potentially why he's attracted to Yuki. So after he leaves, Yuki is having a little moment where she's just thinking to herself, like, is this love or is this admiration? And Reen starts to kind of like pick at her a little bit and is like, y'all seemed awfully chummy. And you seem like a totally different person from yesterday. So again, this puts Yuki in her head, not in like a bad way, but in a way that really makes her start to think, how different am I? You know, what was I like yesterday? What am I like now? And she starts to kind of really wonder what her feelings for Itsuomi are. And as she's having these thoughts, oh, Lord, okay. I said I wasn't gonna roll my eyes, but as she's having these thoughts, Reen points up and shows her Oushi. Enter Oushi. So first off, Reen calls him Mr. Old Friend, and I'm not gonna lie, that was a little flirtatious to me. It was giving very much, girl, your man is here, and I know you say that's your friend. I know you say that's your little friend or whatever, but I don't know. But anyway, I just thought that was a fun way to like talk about him. Oshi is a friend of Yuki's. And what's very interesting is that he communicates with her through sign language. So what we see is the two of them talking through sign language, and they're like on completely opposite ends of this room. And he's asking her who that man was. Now, here's the thing about Oshi. And here's why I said that I had to stop myself from rolling my eyes, even though I did not accomplish that mission. Oshi is like a hater supreme, low key. He's not a bad person. He's not. He's really a good guy deep down. He just is very protective of Yuki. And we learn why later on, but I think you can kind of get from what he's about to say and what he's about to do why he's so protective of her. But he's asking her, who was that? And our girl says, that was one of my friends. Like, she really sound like she want to tell him, get out my business. But he's probably constantly in her business anyway, so it's like she's used to it at this point. Now, the one thing that I will say about Oshi and really this whole discussion as he's having with her through sign language is that it really is cool to see her actually be able to communicate with somebody, because up to this point what we've really seen is her kind of be scared to talk to people because she doesn't communicate the same way that they do. She didn't know how to talk to the guy on the train. Her and Itsuomi are kind of like having to figure it out. Typically when she talks to Reen, she talks through text. So this is the first time that we're seeing her have like a full-fledged conversation using only sign language. So I do think that that's a good way to start fleshing out her world and fleshing out the people that are in her life, because it starts to kind of normalize her a little bit more than they already have, because I think she's very normal, but it starts to feel more inclusive versus her having to figure out how to talk to everybody, and it just flows and it's easy. So I appreciate Oshi from that perspective. So one of Oshi's friends who okay. Oshi's friend, honest to God, made me mad the first time I saw him, because if you've ever seen, I think it's Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, it's one of the two or both, I don't know. There's a character named like Mr. Popo or Mr. Bobo or something like that. He looks like that. And I don't really have the capacity nor the understanding, I think, to have a discussion of why certain characters of color are portrayed that way, or why that is even a depiction that exists. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. And I feel like I don't really have what it takes to get into that discussion. I would have to do a lot of research. But he just made me so uncomfortable. But anyway, his friend comes over and he's talking to him and he's asking him how he's doing. And he's like, okay, this is the interesting part. So Oshi and the friend turn away. So Yuki can no longer see what they're saying. And so that's it kind of takes us out of that moment because it feels like she can be included until something happens that takes her out of it. So that was a good reminder that sometimes like not everything is going to be accessible to her, and there's something that could so easily cut her out of a conversation. So I'm not saying that in a good way to say like I'm happy she got cut out of it, but I'm saying that I think they do a really good job of showing how her limitations are in her day-to-day life. But anyway, I could just brag on that forever, but let's move on. So Oshi's friend is saying, "Oh, those do you know those girls? They're cute. You should invite them to our next drinking game." And for whatever reason, Oshi is just like the one with the long hair is deaf. And I kind of wanted to say, like, what does that have to do with anything? And so his friend says, like, how deaf? How bad is it? And I don't know why that tickled me so bad, but he was like, how bad is it? Like, how bad deaf? Because it was, and I feel like even though it was a weird thing to say, I feel like Oshi just randomly being like, yeah, she's deaf. When I'm saying bring her to a drinking game, I feel like that's where we can start to see that protectiveness because I think that was his way of being like, you ain't finna fool with her. I feel like that was his way of saying that. So it makes sense in that context. But his friend is like, why doesn't she wear a hearing aid? And when Oshi says that she does, that's when we learn that she still can't hear a lot of sounds or make out what they are, even with her hearing aid in. So as much as Oshi kind of gets on my nerves, I do appreciate the fact that we get this insight moment from him. And I think it also goes to show how much he knows her. Like, that's a very, very intimate part of Yuki's life. So for her to be able to share something like that with him means that they must be pretty close. So even though it does feel a tap out of place, I do appreciate the fact that we get a little bit more insight into how she perceives the world. So because from this at this point, all we've heard are her thoughts. We've heard her actually saying things, thinking things, but this is the first time that we've had someone explicitly say like she can't hear this or she can hear that. Because I think sometimes people think, and this is another reason that I really appreciated that scene, I think sometimes people think, oh, you have a hearing aid, so that means you can hear. But I'm glad that they are shedding some light on the fact that no, it just means that she can hear like general things. She can't make out individual sounds. But anyway, at that point, Oshi's friend is just like, okay, all right, I'm finna go. I don't know what to say to that. I don't understand none of it. I'm gonna take your word for it, and I'm finna leave. So another little fun thing that happens is Reem brings up the fact that like it's so sweet that he learned how to sign so he could talk to you. And Yuki is just like he just does it so he can pick with me. So I think that that gives a little insight into their relationship. He's very, very protective of her. And he's one of the only people who we've seen so far that can communicate with her on a regular basis versus having to text or having to figure out a way to talk. So it's interesting that we get so much from him in that moment, and she just sees it as he does it to pick with me. So I think that that shows us that Yuki has like a sibling relationship with Oshi, and maybe Oshi has a little bit more going on because anyway, he's a simp, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. So at this point, Itsuomi takes Yuki and is like, do you want a souvenir or not? And I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Sometimes when he says or not, it gets on my nerves so bad. But I know if it was real life, I would be like, why are you asking me or not? Why are you putting or not behind it? But at the same time, you know what? We just accept it. We move on. We accept it for what it is. Because Itsuomi is very odd. He's very strange, and he does his own thing, and you just kind of have to catch up with him. So Yuki asks Rin, about that guy that works at the cafe. Do you said you admired him, right? And our baby is like, no, I realize I love that man. And I noticed in reading a lot of romance manga lately that they just kind of skip over liking somebody and just go straight to love. They're just like, no, I love this person that I just met 2 days ago. And I'm like, okay. But I'm assuming that that's got to be something about the genre. I don't think that that's just like, because it's been multiple stories. It's not like it's just one or two, it's multiple stories that I've read. That tends to be how they convey their feelings, is saying love. So I just found it to be interesting. And then Ring gives her a little bit of advice and is like, if you don't know how you feel, then just pick, just choose. And Yuki doesn't even understand that she can choose. Like, this is her first time realizing that she can choose how she feels. And I just found that so sweet. It's so sweet, but then it also shows how naive and kind of green to the world she is. So it kind of scares me that she's that inexperienced. But, she's an adult and we're just along for the ride with her. So Yuki takes Itsuomi back and says, "Bring me a souvenir." Now she puts a little emoji at the end that I swear to God I thought was like a little wet emoji, and I was like, "Yuki, baby, you're an adult, but calm it down, slow it down just a little bit." But anyway, so after that, we see Yuki just going through her everyday life. She's just going to school, talking with friends, whatever else. But she just keeps on thinking about Itsuomi, and she just keeps on thinking like, "What is he doing? Where is he at?" Things like that. Like she just wants to know what's going on in his little part of the world. So one night, Itsuomi texts her and just sends her a whole bunch of pictures of where he is, the people that he's meeting. It's just so beautiful. And for Yuki, this is the first exposure that she's gotten to something that's outside of her little bubble. She's seeing different places, even if it is just in a picture. And she's getting a chance to see different people from different locations and see through Itsuomi's eyes all these amazing things. And he also, this is where we learn a little bit more about him too, because Itsuomi is staying in a $7 hostel, and I don't know about that. I listen, you kind of on your own with that one because I can't. A $7 hostel? That to me would be giving crowded. That to me would be giving the accommodations, you get what you paid for. But I also don't know a whole lot about hostels, so it could be a 7-star hotel for all I know. Who knows? But then he says he's going to sleep, and Yuki is just like, this man just be popping in and out. He don't even give you a second. He just pops on in, pops on out. But then he tells her, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to be back the day after tomorrow." The way that my baby put her face in that pillow and just started screeching, she was so excited. She said, "My man is coming back to town. My man, my man, my man." I would not be mad at her if she turned into a "my man, my man, my man." I wouldn't. I would not blame Yuki at all. And we can already see the hint that it's coming. So a couple of days later, our baby is getting ready to cross the street. She's in a butte and she's getting ready to cross the street. And who does she see but Itsuomi? She just goes to waving, trying to get his attention. And I was like, girl, you're gonna have to bring it down a couple of notches because you can't look that thirsty. Not just yet. You can't look that thirsty just yet. But this is the moment that he replies to her in sign language and says, "Good morning." The way that my baby's face lit up, she was like, "Did he just sign to me?" And now she's curious because she's like, who taught him sign language? Where did he learn how to say this? Like, now she has so many questions that she wants to ask him. This is on top of wanting to know everything about his trip in the first place. She wants to know everything that happened. She wants to know what he saw, what he did. And now she's trying to figure out, when did he have time to start learning sign language? Y'all, when my baby sees that, she literally thinks to herself, ever since I got to know this man, my life has just opened up so much and my world has started to open up. I choose love. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's really not. But it's just something about the way that she's just like, I choose love. And then you have this panel with his face, which, oh God, that man is so fine. But look, if you're watching the video version, look at this panel. My baby said, I want this to be love. I choose love. And then you just get him sitting there. This is such a beautiful panel. And by the way, speaking of the panels and speaking of the video version, truly, and I mean this from the depths of my heart, if you ever get the chance to read this, I really think it would behoove you to do so because the illustrations are so beautiful. The characters are beautifully drawn and they each have unique facial features. Sometimes when you like look at an illustrated story, sometimes the characters just have this one template. Everything and everybody is so unique in this story. Everyone has such different features and things about them that's so unique and beautiful. And it's just like looking at the panels, the way that they illustrate, the way that they look at each other, the way that sometimes their eyes sparkle, the way that the snow falls, the way that the buildings look, like the way that it aesthetically pleases the eye. I'm telling you that if you don't do anything else, if you don't read but one volume, I genuinely think that it's worth it. But anyway, so Itsuomi comes over and he tells her to give him her hand. And she's like, "What you mean my hand?" And he gives her a gift. And it is a little idol figure from Laos. And then he's so weird. He's like, "Do you like it or not?" And of course, she's looking at him like, "What is this? What would even make him give me this? Like, what went through his mind that made him think of me when he bought this?" But of course, she tells the man she loves it. She's like, "I love this." Because why wouldn't you? You know, your man just came back. Now, this is not her man yet, but we're speaking it into existence. Your man just came back from another country and he just gave you a gift. Do you really think she was going to be like, "No, this is weird. I don't want this"? No, she takes it and she's very grateful. This is also probably the very first time in Yuki's life that she's ever gotten something from another country. This is the first time that she's ever gotten like a souvenir that we know of, that we know of. This is the first time that she's ever had like a little piece of somewhere else to call her own. So I think it was just a very significant moment for her. So as she's looking at it and gushing over it, he puts his hand on her head, which bothers me just a tap because it kind of feels like he's petting a dog, but we'll discuss that in a little bit. But he says something, but she doesn't hear what he says. We don't see what he says. And so she's like, "I'm just happy to be in this man's presence." And that is where chapter 2 of A Sign of Affection ends. Now listen, if you know me, you know I'm a bird. And so the hand on the head thing, for me, I feel like I don't know how I would actually feel about it. I want to say I wouldn't like it, but then I feel like if it's the right person, I would. So I don't actually know. But that kind of leads me to talk about one of the elephants in the room, which is sometimes I don't fully know how Itsuomi sees Yuki. And you know, we've talked a little bit here and there about the fact that she's very inexperienced and he's a traveler, right? So he's been all these different places and met all these different people. And Yuki has a very limited number of people that she interacts with in her day-to-day life. So it's kind of hard because I don't think that he's taking advantage of her or anything like that. But sometimes it does feel like he treats her the way you would treat like an innocent, naive child. And while again, I don't think that he would take advantage of her, it does almost feel like there's a weird power imbalance in their relationship because it feels like I think it's infantilized. Y'all know I love saying words that I don't fully know how to say. And I think it's infantilized. Or, yeah. If it's not, that's what we're gonna say it is. But he does that, you know, I feel like sometimes unintentionally. But I think that that's what's gonna benefit us when we start to learn more about the people that he interacts with, is we're kind of going to get a chance to see a lot more of how he interacts with people around him outside of just his friends at school or just outside of his cousin, you know, at work. So does he talk to other people the same way? Is he very decisive like that? Because when he hits the or not, like, does he talk to other people like that? Is that something that's unique to Yuki? We don't fully know. But I think that's going to be part of the fun of the story and getting to watch it unfold. And watching Yuki make a decision for herself is going to be empowering just because I feel like she's always kind of just felt like the status quo was, you know, that's all there really was. And so seeing her have a chance to kind of branch out from that is going to be an amazing adventure. And I think Yuki will be able to tell him, like, "I don't like that." You know, like I think she's aware enough to be like, "I don't like that." Because right now she gives a little bit of people pleaser. So it's gonna be interesting to see how she works through that. But speaking of that, there are two key moments that I really want to talk about in this chapter because I think that they really set a big tone for everything. And that's when the first one is when Yuki is wondering, does he see me as like a foreign exchange student? Because I think that that's going to set a big tone in the way that she interacts with him and the things that she chooses to say, the way that she chooses to interpret what he says to her. I feel like she's going to be very cautious and aware that he has met so many people. And so hearing her be able to already, verbalize internally that she's concerned about that, I think shows us that she's going into it with, yes, her heart is definitely leading, but her head is not far behind. Like, she's fully aware enough to be like, just in case something is weird, I'm not going to just fall head over heels. The second big thing in this chapter is definitely Oushi, because even though Oushi is a hater supreme, it is good to see that she has people in her life who understand what she's going through, who understands her experience and the way that she takes in the world. So it's good to know that she has someone in her corner like that, and that she has someone as devoted to her as Oushi, even if it does come off as a little bit of, overprotectiveness. So it's gonna be very fun to watch how those two things interact, how they collide. Like, the feelings that she has for Itsuomi and just Itsuomi as a person eventually colliding with Oshi. It's gonna be a very I cannot wait to see how those two things interact, because I feel like it's gonna be quite the experience, to say the least. As a whole, I absolutely love this chapter. I think that it was a good follow up to the first one, where we get a chance to see that for Yuki, these aren't just fleeting thoughts and feelings that are, twiddling about in her heart, and then she just moves on to the next person. This is someone that she clearly has an attraction to, that we see her doing the work of questioning, what is this that I'm actually feeling? Is this affection, or is this actual love? What are these emotions that I'm going through? Because it would be very easy for her to just have decided that she was in love. But I think we also are getting a chance to see her grow. We're getting a chance to see her go from that person who's kind of like scared of someone coming to ask her questions, to someone who's not afraid to question herself once she realizes that she can question herself. And again, going forward, I think that that's going to be a major theme, is watching how she questions herself, but also questions Itsuomi in a healthy way, and what that means for her as a person and an individual. Let me tell you something. My favorite panel from this entire chapter had to have been when my baby said, I choose love, and you just get the visual of him. That was it. That was the one. That was the MVP, okay, of this chapter, because it was just so powerful. You get this statement from her, and then you just get her looking at this man. It just that was my favorite one, and all of my bird senses, all of my bird abilities started tingling. With that being said, I think that we are going to wrap up our discussion of A Sign of Affection Chapter 2, and I can't wait to come back next week and start talking about Chapter 3 to see what Yuki and Oshi and Itsuomi have gotten into. But until then, let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit to Naruto. I have been waiting to start talking about Naruto. I have wanted to do it ever since I started watching it, because I watched it, I want to say, I know it was during the pandemic. So it was either 2020 or it might have been 2021. I can't really remember, but it was one of the two. And I just remember watching it, and I had a friend that was watching it with me, and he had watched it before and was kind of talking me through it. I fell in love with this show so much, and ever since then, I knew I wanted to make some kind of content about it. And the fact that it's actually happening now is so amazing. So, like I said earlier, we're going to go arc by arc, and we're going to break it up by volume. So, today we are here to talk about The Land of Waves Part 1. So, we are going to go ahead, get into Volume 1 of Naruto, where we are introduced to the Naruto Uzumaki. So just as sort of a discussion about how we're gonna approach talking about Naruto, because it's gonna it's gonna be a lot, okay? And because the first arc is how we get introduced to them, I think it's okay to take it kind of slow. And so it's over the course of 4 volumes, and so that's how we're gonna approach it. We're gonna have 4 episodes to talk about the Land of Waves arc in 4 volumes, because it's a lot going on. But once we kind of get past the Land of Waves arc, there are some arcs that only cover like 3 volumes, or, something like that. So it may not take a whole long time to talk about, but but there are some that cover like 9. So some episodes we're gonna have to kind of condense a little bit of information because, girl, we can't be here all day. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how we're gonna approach our Naruto discussion. And if you're watching the video version, you may notice that I put my little furry thing over the microphone. I used to have like a little microphone pop thing, but I can't find it. And so I had to pull this one out. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into Naruto. I have been waiting for this moment for so long. So the story follows a young boy who's a troublemaker, right? And he lives in this great ninja village. And I don't know how to actually say the name of it. It's Konohaga Konohagakaru? Maybe? Girl, I don't know. We just call it Konoha. Okay. It's called Konoha. It's called the village hidden in the leaves. That's what we're gonna call it. That's what we're gonna focus on. Because if we start trying to discuss like the actual name of it, I promise you that we are going to be here all day. Anywho, so we open up the chapter with some beautiful artwork. This is a lot like a sign of affection where some of the panels are just so beautiful that I really suggest that you either watch the anime or that you read the manga. That's how much I genuinely believe in how beautiful these panels are. They are gorgeous. Now, the actual opening artwork to the chapter, I promise I'm not gonna go into like depth and detail with every single thing, but Naruto is just my favorite story. But we actually open it up to Kakashi standing on top of a frog. And I want to say that, y'all, I don't remember their names. Okay, so this is why I'm glad that we're getting back into the story because I don't remember a lot of the names. But we get a chance to see Kakashi standing on top of the giant frog. We get a chance to see Sakura looking out. And we get a chance to see Naruto just standing there looking like a mischievous little rascal. And we also see Sasuke back there on a bird, and it's like, whatever, girl. Anyway, you will very quickly learn that Sasuke is not my favorite. He is not someone that I'm going to go out of my way to just be, whatever. But anyway, so we open up our story with a young Naruto up on top of the mountain, right? And at the top of the mountain, there are these images that have been carved in stone of the previous leaders of the village, the previous Hokage, including the current one. And all the people down there are pressed. They are sick of Naruto. They're sick of his antics. They are sick of his foolishness. And Naruto is talking cash money shit. I'm talking about like cash money, right? And he's calling them losers and all this and that until Iruka Sensei pulls up. Now, Iruka Sensei is his teacher and someone that we can assume that Naruto respects because he immediately gets into line as soon as he sees him. So after Naruto gets down, we see him back in class. And Iruka Sensei he done tied the boy up, right? He has our boy tied up and he tells him that all of your classmates are going to pass the Ninja Academy tomorrow. Like they're going to pass and they're going to graduate. You're not going to graduate, Naruto, because you just do stupid stuff. So then he tells everybody that they have to practice their cloning jutsu. It's not actually the cloning jutsu. It says art of transformation. And so what they have to do is make themselves look like Iruka Sensei. Naruto is so extra and so aggravating though. He turns himself into a beautiful woman. And so Iruka Sensei has the blood coming from his nose because that's just an anime trope, child. When the blood starts coming from the nose, there must be a woman somewhere afoot. And Iruka Sensei is telling him, like, you are just wasting your time doing stupid stuff when you have so much talent. You could be doing other things. It is sweet that he tells him that he has talent because he's like, you waste all of your time and talent investing it in this kind of stuff when you need to be doing. Anyway, let me not get caught up in that because I love the relationship. Now, this breaks my heart a little bit because next up we see Iruka Sensei making Naruto clean up the paint off of the side of the mountain, right? And he tells him, you're not going to leave until all of this is clean. And Naruto says, so it's not like anybody's at home waiting on me. Girl, Naruto, this is okay. So, just as a little anecdote, just as a little short aside, the thing that really got me about Naruto was how it can pull at your heartstrings. And Naruto is so alone, and you can tell that everything that he's doing is just a big front. And he just wants somebody to care about him. He just wants somebody. I don't even think he wants someone to care about him. He just wants someone to see him. Like, that's all he wants. He just wants people paying attention to him. And the fact that he says that, and that, what can you say? Like, that's the kind of stuff that got me invested in this story, was seeing how Naruto truly, truly overcomes that, but also how this young child has to feel all these emotions, all this solitude, all this disdain from other people, and just watching how he navigates it. Because I would have gone insane a long time ago. I'm gonna just tell you right now, I would have gone insane. Somebody would have had to go ahead and get me up out of here, because my nerves won't be that good. But anyway, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead. I just wanted to go ahead and just say that real quick, because I just think that it's so important to the story of Naruto to understand that he is going through all of this not only for a very specific reason, but intentionally. Like, people are choosing to treat him this way. It's not like there's some sort of ordinance or whatever. Like, people are just choosing to exclude him and be mean to him and whatever else. But we'll get into why a little bit later on. So then Iruka takes Naruto to go get some ramen. Naruto loves him some ramen, child. Like, if he ain't gonna do nothing else, he's gonna cause trouble and he's gonna eat him some ramen. So while they're talking, Iruka's just asking him, why would you choose to do that? Do you know who the Hokage are? And Naruto tells him, of course I know who the Hokage are. Like, they're the leaders of our village. The fourth Hokage is the one who led us through the attack of the demon fox all those years ago. And so when Iruka asks him, why would you choose to deface those images then? Naruto says, because, listen, one day they're going to be calling me Hokage. He kind of ate with that. Now, is it going to get on my nerves a little bit down the road? Yes. But for right in that very moment when he said that, Naruto kind of ate. Naruto is telling us that one day he's going to be Hokage. Everyone is going to have to respect him, and everyone is going to have to treat him a certain way. They're going to have to put respect on his name, and they're going to have to change up the way that they talk to him. And I think that that gives us a really good foundation of not only who Naruto is, but the determination that he has to make a better life for himself. Like, yes, he's a troublemaker. Yes, he's doing things that hurt. Yes, he's doing things that are going to, get him negative attention. But he also just wants people to respect him, and he's willing to put the work in to get that. He's not just hoping and praying that things are going to change and then one day, oh, they might miraculously, do so. He's willing to put in whatever amount of work he needs. Child, even if that means being delusional, which Naruto, it can be very, very delusional. So the next day for the final exam, what they have to do is make a doppelganger of themselves. Now listen, Naruto is notoriously bad at making these doppelgangers at this point. Like, he makes a little doppelganger and God bless him, the thing is just a mess. It's just a little blob of a person. And so Iruka immediately tells him, no sir, you failed this test, don't even worry about it. So then someone named Mizuki comes in and is trying to tell Iruka, like, oh, just give him a break. He made a doppelganger. It might not have been the best in the world, but he made one. And Iruka says no, because his performance as a whole does not even merit him actually passing the class. So afterwards, we see Naruto outside and he's sitting on the swing by himself and he's just watching everyone be, so happy. He's the only person in the class who failed. And he's just watching everyone talk about, oh, how proud their parents are. And this is such an amazing day. And he just looks so sad and so defeated. And then some of the little, I almost called them children a bad name. Some of those little entities are looking over at Naruto and they're like, of course he failed. He's the only one in the class who did. And can you imagine if they let someone like him be a shinobi anyway? Think about what he is. And so the other person is like, don't even go there. Like, we're not even finna touch that. So then Mizuki is talking to Naruto again, and he's basically telling him, like, cut Iruka a break. You remind him so much of himself, and he lost his parents when he was young, and we learned that he lost his parents during the Demon Fox attack. So Naruto tells Mizuki that he really wanted to graduate, and Mizuki tells him, there's something I've been wanting to tell you, and then we cut to another scene. Naruto done snuck up in the Hokage's quarters, right? And he catches the Hokage of the village off guard by doing the little transformation jutsu that he did earlier to transform himself into a sexy woman. So then the Hokage of the village, the strongest person in the village, just conks on out. He just knocks on out. And then Naruto steals a scroll and we see Mizuki standing there doing a menacing smile. So then we cut to a moment of Iruka Sensei laying in bed and he's just thinking about what him and the Hokage talked about. And he's thinking about his own parents and he's thinking about when he was little. And so we get a little flashback to the demon fox attack from all those years ago. And we see a little Iruka saying that he wants to go back so that he can save his parents because they're still fighting the demon. So then Mizuki comes in and he wakes up Iruka and he tells him, y'all, it's Naruto. And we learn that the scroll that Naruto stole was so, like, apparently dangerous that the first Hokage sealed it away. And if it's put in the wrong hands, then it can be super dangerous. Which is just interesting after you learn what it actually is, but I digress. So then we see everyone rushing off to try to go find Naruto. We find out that he's been gone for half a day at this point. And we see Mizuki thinking to himself, once everyone in the village finds out that Naruto stole the sacred scroll, that's going to be it for him. It makes my blood boil because I'm just like, seriously, are we for real right now? Like this, you're going to set up a child? You really are just a piece of crap. So then Iruka finds Naruto in the middle of the forest, right? And he's telling him, like, there you are. Why does Naruto say, I found you? And then Iruka's like, no, you idiot, I found you. And so he's asking him, like, what's that scroll on your back? And that's when Naruto tells him that he found out about this place and the scroll from Mizuki. So Iruka turns this on and he realizes what's happening because Naruto says that Mizuki told him that if he took this scroll, Iruka would let him become a ninja finally. So girl, as soon as Iruka figures out what's going on, they get attacked and we see a bunch of kunai coming at them. Naruto gets knocked out the way, but then Iruka gets pinned to the side of a barn that's out there. Or a building. I don't know if it's a barn, but it's a building. Girl, so this is just when all the tea comes out, okay? Mizuki is just a horrible, horrible individual, and this is just when all the tea gets spilled. So he's telling Naruto, give me the scroll. You don't know what's in this, but I can teach you what it says. Iruka's telling him, don't get at me in that scroll. You got to protect it with your life. It contains a secret knowledge, and he can't get his hands on it. So at this point, Mizuki takes the opportunity to tell Naruto about this decree that they've all had to follow in the village. Iruka's trying to stop him, but Mizuki is like, you want to know what the decree is? And Naruto is like, I've never heard of this decree. And that's when Mizuki tells him, of course you wouldn't, because we're all forbidden from telling you what you really are. The nine-tailed demon fox. Girl, when I gagged, I'm telling you, like, the way Naruto was gagged, his jaw dropped to the floor. He was sitting there looking crazy. I was sitting there looking crazy. We all just sitting there looking at each other. Iruka don't know what to say. And Naruto is just like it completely in a daze. And now, here's where it gets a little interesting too, because now that Naruto knows that he is technically the nine-tailed fox, Mizuki points out that he also is technically the one who killed Iruka's parents, which just completely sets Naruto off. Like it completely sets him off. And Mizuki is bringing up the fact, like, didn't you think it was weird that people treated you that way? Didn't you ever question why they treated you that way? This is it. He also tells him that if Iruka would be honest with himself and with everybody else, he actually hates Naruto too. And I was like, oh, is that true? Now, at this point, okay, at this juncture, what we have is him now taunting Naruto because he's telling him, I can see right through all the stuff that you've been doing. You've been just been trying to get any kind of attention that you possibly can from people, no matter what, whether it was good or bad. But nobody's ever going to accept you because of what you are. So you might as well just give up now. Girl, so then he throws a giant kunai at Naruto, I guess in hopes of killing him. Iruka jumps in front of it and he takes it in his back. Girl, a throwing star. It was a throwing star. It wasn't a kunai. I don't know what I said, but it was a throwing star. It was a giant throwing star. And I just was like, oh my God. This is the first time in Naruto's life that he has ever seen someone willing to die for him, willing to give up their life to save his. And it just blew my mind because Naruto is just sitting there with his eyes wide, not knowing what's going on, not knowing like how to even react. And he's just in shock. So then Naruto asks him, "Why would you do this? Why would you risk your life for me?" And Iruka tells him that when after his parents died, he didn't have anyone to praise him or to love him, to give him any kind of attention, so he became a class clown. He was always trying to get attention from people, so he knows what Naruto is going through. And he apologizes to him because he's saying, "I know that when I scolded you, it must have hurt, and if I had been a better teacher, then neither one of us would have had to go through that." Now this is where Mizuki messed up as soon as he started manipulating Naruto. Don't get me wrong, but this was when he really messed up. For whatever reason, he just assumes that Naruto is going to use the knowledge that he gets from the scroll to take revenge on the village. And Iruka is like, "You don't even know this boy. If you think that that's the kind of person that he is, that he's going to try to take revenge on the village, then you really are insane and you haven't been paying attention to the person that he is." And he tells him, "Well, I don't have to know him to kill him." And so he charges at him and he's like, "We should have," Mizuki says, "We should have killed this boy when he was a baby." And I was like, "Oh my God." He was like, "We shouldn't have let him even grow up, but we can go ahead and fix that now while he's still a boy, because don't get it twisted. He will never be one of us." Girl. So mind you, while all this is going on, the fourth Hokage is just sitting in his quarters on his little crystal ball situation, right? And he's like, if he ever were to become unbound and then he has this scroll, things could get real bad. Why are you not there? I'm trying to figure out why you sitting. Don't you know what? Me and Hiruzen, who is the fourth Hokage's name is Hiruzen. Me and Harrison got a lot that we're gonna get into as we get deeper into this discussion and as we get deeper into this story. But me and Harrison are not in a good place at all. So then Iruka tricks Mizuki. Mizuki has transformed himself into Iruka so that he can trick Naruto. But what he doesn't realize is that Iruka has transformed himself into Naruto. So he thought he ate, but he didn't. So Naruto is hiding, and at that moment, Mizuki is talking to Iruka, and Iruka tells him, like, "You hate that boy. Just help me take him out and get this scroll." And Iruka says that he may hate the fox, but he doesn't hate Naruto because Naruto is a sweet, kind, precious angel baby. And as soon as he hears him say he is a citizen of the leaf and he is Naruto Uzumaki, immediately Naruto is just ugly crying. He is in tears. Our sweet, precious angel love is just like, "You know what? You know what, friend? I'm going to be here for you and I'm going to help you out." So this is when Naruto absolutely eats. So as Mizuki is going towards Iruka to try to kill him, Naruto steps in, he kicks him out the way and he stops him. And then he's like, "You know what? Let me show you a little bit of something." And he does the jutsu. And why there are like 1,000 Narutos. Now this is a secret technique, right? And earlier Naruto had a really trouble making a little doppelganger of himself. But now he has made 1,000 clones of himself. Naruto 8. 6, 7, 8. So after they stop Mizuki, Iruka tells Naruto, "You have passed and you are now a shinobi of the hidden leaf." So our boy is officially a ninja. Now we're just going to kind of go through chapter 2 kind of quickly because chapter 2 is mainly us learning more about what happened during the Nine Tail attack, and we get a chance to meet Konohamaru, who is the grandson of the fourth Hokage, and he was named after the village, hence the name Konohamaru, Konohaga, whatever the name of the village is. So Naruto has to take his picture for his ninja license or whatever it is, his ninja ID. And of course, he's taking an idiotic picture with an idiotic pose. And the guy's like, "I'm not taking that picture like that." But Naruto insists. And so that's what the picture that's on his ID. And we learned that this is actually something that goes in like a secret dossier for all the ninja in the village. So Naruto is just being an idiot. And the fourth Hokage is telling him, like, "Why would you even take this picture? But why are you not wearing your headband?" And Naruto says he didn't want to mess it up. So it's like, I think that shows that he is really, really invested in what happens with, the thing. Like, he treasures it and he doesn't want it to just get, messed up and whatever else. So then Konohamaru comes in being a little brat, him and his tutor Ebisu. And Ebisu was like, "I was trying to stop him, but you know how he is, and it ain't nothing I can do." Now, what's funny about this is that Naruto immediately is like, "So you're the one that I tripped over? I'm not fooling with you like that." And so Ebisu tells him, "You know that that's the Hokage's grandson, right?" And Naruto looks this man dead in his face and is like, "I do not care." Like, I do not care who that is because he tripped me. And so then, as Naruto is walking and he's kind of like going along his day, he realizes that Konohamaru is following him. Konohamaru wants to learn. Konohamaru wants to learn Naruto's sexy jutsu, and it is just a mess. And like Ebisu is trying to figure out, where did this child go? Where is he at? And the fourth Hokage is like, he might have bitten off more than he can chew. This is the thing about the fourth Hokage that bothers me. He can be very wise. He clearly is very wise. You don't get to be, the leader of a village for a long period of time without being, some semblance of it. But my problem with him is that he knows these things that's going on, and it's like, just tell somebody what's happening. Like, sometimes it's okay to just tell somebody, even if you don't do something yourself, just tell someone what's going on. Anyway, now, what is interesting too about Ebisu is that he says that him and his line they've been the tutors for people who were potential Hokage. And so I just wondered, how long exactly has this village been in place? Because he made it seem like it was some kind of ancient order or something like that, when in reality, anyway, I think it only been like 70 years. I don't even think the village is 100 years old. And the thing is, up to this point, there's only been four Hokage. And by the way, I keep calling Hiruzen the fourth Hokage, and he is not the fourth, he is the third Hokage. So please forgive me. I keep saying fourth because there are four of them, but he is the third Hokage. So Naruto and Konohamaru are talking, and Naruto is kind of getting a better understanding of who Konohamaru is and sort of what his problem is. So he loves his grandfather, but he's upset that everyone in the village only knows him as honored grandson. They know his name is Konohamaru, but they don't call him that because of who he's related to. But Konohamaru says that he wants to be the Hokage so that he can earn everyone in the village's respect, and he can show everyone that he's his own person. Naruto immediately shuts that down and is like, "Child, anyway, because you can't be Hokage. Okay, you're not gonna be Hokage because I'm gonna be Hokage." It is just the funniest thing to me, and when I tell you, it tickles me so bad. But I think it also goes to show that, like, they both have the same goal, even if it is coming from different perspectives. And I think that that's why they're able to bond in any sort of way. So then we get a little bit more information about the Nine-Tailed Fox attack and kind of its aftermath. What we learn is that the kids in the village have absolutely no idea. They have no idea who Naruto actually is. So even Hiruzen is aware that the way that that these kids are treating him is based solely on their parents. Like, the hatred that they feel for this child is based solely on the hatred that the adults in the village feel towards him. He even tells us that Naruto was chosen to be a vessel so that he could contain the nine-tailed fox and save the village, but the adults don't see it that way. They say they see him as the embodiment of the entity that destroyed the village or almost destroyed it. And Hiruzen is telling Iruka, like, can you imagine what it must be like to have to every single day of your life defend your right to exist to people? Like, you literally have to defend your right just to be alive. And when you put it in that context, it is just, oh God, it got all over me. It just did something to me. So we go back and we find Ebisu has found Naruto and Konohamaru. So Konohamaru does a cute little sexy jutsu to throw Ebisu off, but he doesn't, throw him off. And he takes him and he's trying to bring him back, right? And Naruto is like, "Hey, get your hands off of him." And then he does the shadow clone technique. And initially Ebisu was like, "Child, anyway, because that ain't nothing. You're getting, sit down." And then Naruto does even more shadow clones and gags him real quick, and he has to stop talking. And then he does a sexy jutsu within all of the shadow clones, and it just throws him off. Naruto calls that his ninja harem, and that boy is so funny. Even Hiruzen, who again is looking through his little crystal ball, is really impressed by the fact that Naruto was able to combine his sexy jutsu with the doppelganger, or not with the doppelganger, but with the shadow clone jutsu. Even he's like, "Oh, look at that, you cutting up." But the end of the chapter is cute because Naruto is telling Konohamaru, like, baby, if you want to be respected, it's going to take more than you just being Hokage. You're going to have to put the work in and you're going to have to do something that people are going to respect you. So from then on, Konohamaru declares that the two of them are rivals and they're going to always push each other to do their best. And again, we got Hiruzen looking through the crystal ball thing or whatever it is, and he's looking at them and he's saying, oh, they're gonna be great shinobi one day, and he's smiling, and I'm like, okay, just get a life, get a grip, and get a life. Now, I know that we said that we were going to cover the full volume, and by we I do mean me, said that we were going to cover the full volume, but this was a lot of information, and so I think that what we're going to do is like a little mini-sode to talk about the rest of the volume, and then when we come back next week, we'll be ready to dive into volume 2. The only reason that I think I want to kind of do it like that is just because there's so much information in it, and I don't want to try to jam pack everything into one episode because number one, that's tiring for me, but then number two, you don't want to sit here and listen to an hour and a half long episode, or maybe you do, I don't know. If you do want to hear that, I mean, please feel free to let me know, and I can definitely make that happen, but for right now, I think it would be best to just kind of like chop it up into little bits. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end the discussion part here. This, I have been, again, I know y'all are going to be sick of me saying this, but I have been waiting to talk about this for so long. I truly, truly have. And for me, I love this chapter, this volume so much, just because we start to really get an understanding of who Naruto is very quickly. We get an understanding of why he does what he does. We get an understanding of who he is, his motivations. We get a chance to see him start connecting and bonding with people through that in a way that he hasn't before. He's able to bond with Iruka. He's able to bond with Konohamaru. And it's like knowing the secret of who he actually is takes that off of him. And I think it takes away some of that lack of understanding that he has of why people do treat him that way. Like now he has a frame of reference and he knows this is what I'm going to have to overcome if I do want people to respect me. So going forward in the story, especially looking to volume 2, I think that what we can look forward to is Naruto starting on his road of gaining respect. And because he is so hot-headed, I think there's going to be some trouble along the way. And I think that some people are definitely going to have to slap some sense into him. But I am so excited to go on this journey with y'all. And because I have already yapped y'all's ear off, we're not going to go into the full spiel. I just want you to know that this is what not spiel. What is spiel? But with that being said, I do want you to know that like I have so many thoughts about this, and I will definitely talk more about my thoughts and sort of the panels that I loved just so far in our second episode where we talk about the rest of the volume. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. And I am so thankful to y'all for coming to listen to me, for spending this time with me. I hope that you are following the podcast on whatever your preferred podcast app is, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or if you're listening on YouTube, please go ahead, follow the channel, like the video, share it with someone that you think may like it. You can find me everywhere on social media at They Call Me Mr. G. You can also find me on Instagram at Power of G Entertainment. I almost lost it. And we also have Power of G Entertainment on Facebook. So if you want to go hit me up on Facebook, please feel free to do so. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. I hope that y'all have a great morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever it is, wherever you are. And I will see y'all later. Bye.